So my name is Westin Sutherland. I'm 21 years old. I'm originally from the Peguis First Nation here in Manitoba. I currently live here in Winnipeg, and I'm a summer student here at the MICEC, the Manitoba Indigenous Cultural Education Center. And Shiris just introduced me with. I've been learning the language intensely since 2015, and I recorded some of my first Ojibwe audio in 2017. And yeah, and that's what I've been doing since then. We're recording and, you know, helping to revitalize the language. Anishinaabemowin Ojibwe and Anishinaabemowin Cree, specifically Swampy Creek.
That's awesome. And Weston's going to show us some of his cartoons a little bit later, which I'm so excited for. But we have a bunch of questions to ask you first. So you started learning the language in 2015. So how old were you then? And how did you get started with that? How did that happen?
In 2015, I was 15 years old, actually.
Ah, baby Weston.
My age matches the whatever year we're in. And yeah, when I was 15, I just got really inspired to learn the language of my people. Because growing up, I never really I never grew up with our culture, and I never really grew up with our language fluently around me. But when I took an interest in history, geography, and languages, I decided to pursue my own because my grandmother is still a fluent speaker, and I have some other family members that can speak the language as well. So I just thought I want to learn the language to be able to interact with them more so than I have most of my life. And but before 2015, I did grow up hearing the language in small phrases or words, like anin, hello, or awas, go away, or ampe, come here. So like I did grow up with a bit of the language, but it wasn't until 2015 when I started, to pursue the language that I, truly picked up a lot more.
Right, that's awesome.
Weston, I was just wondering how you started that process. Like, who did you reach out to, and yeah, what was the early stages of it like?
Well, some of my early stages were, of course, purchasing dictionaries. I remember, actually coming here to MICC and buying a few dictionaries. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second there. But yeah, I bought a bunch of dictionaries for myself. I started reading them. I didn't know how to read Ojibwe, so I remember downloading some pictures from the internet telling you how to pronounce the words. Like A is pronounced like as in sun. And I remember studying those pictures and then trying my best to read the dictionaries. And then halfway through 2015, during the summer, I signed up for some classes. And I think one of my first Anishinaabemowin teachers was Roger Roulette. I remember sitting in a big boardroom with I was the youngest one there. All the other students were already in their 20s or older. So I was like 15, the only 15-year-old. It seemed like I was the only 15-year-old learning the language at the time. So I studied those dictionaries and all the worksheets that I was given from Roger and a couple other classes that I would attend. So that's how it started.
Was there the option for you to learn Ojibwe in school, Weston?
No, unfortunately, the school I went to, like most schools, only offered English and French. So I never had the chance. There was never an Indigenous option that I noticed.
So you spent your time outside of school?
Sorry, I didn't hear.
Both of us at the same time. You spent your time outside of school to learn the language. You took extra on top of what you were doing already.
Exactly. My own time. During the summer, like I could have went to the movies or I could have went to swimming, but I chose the language because that was more fun to me.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you remember what the first dictionaries you bought were?
Yes, the first dictionary was Pocket Ojibwe, the little tiny one.
Pocket Ojibwe. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure the second dictionary I got was Survival Ojibwe, red cover, medium sized.
We'll put all of them in the comments as well for people to look into after.
And my dictionary pile slowly grew over the last couple of years. I'm always buying
Yeah.
new dictionaries.
That's good. So why did you decide to create cartoons? How did that happen? How did you go from being a learner to being a teacher through these cartoons?
Mm, alongside my, my language journey, learning the language, dictionaries and stuff. At the same time, in 2015, I was also learning Mandarin Chinese, and with that, I would actually watch cartoons and videos in Mandarin, and then I noticed that there was there wasn't the same option for Anishinaabemowin. There were no videos, no cartoons, like nothing like really fun. Like most of the videos, were like, educational, which is good, but you also need entertainment as well. And I kind of noticed that. And at the time also, I was taking an interest in, you know, dubbing or fan dubbing, as I learned it to be called. I would see videos online of like people using their own voices for like their favorite cartoons, like saying funny things, or these cartoon characters saying outrageous phrases. And I found that stuff really funny, and I realized, I have the resources. Like I could totally do this with Anishinaabemowin as well. I can create funny language videos, or even just something in the language, like seeing like SpongeBob or another cartoon in Anishinaabemowin. That thought really intrigued me. And, I just, over like 2016 and 2017, I started, more and more to pursue that, got the, yeah, that's kind of
Do you
how that
remember,
started.
do you remember what your first cartoon was that you dubbed?
If most of those who know me would know the answer, but if you don't know me, Sailor Moon.
That's awesome. And so what's the response been like for you creating these cartoons?
When I first started doing it, I wasn't actually sure what the response would be. I remember thinking, it's kind of something new, and like it hasn't really been done before. So I remember thinking, it's like a 50-50 chance. But after uploading some of my first videos, it was kind of slow at first, maybe like 2 views, 5 views, but then suddenly it shot up. And I remember seeing one of my first Sailor Moon videos that I uploaded, going like viral, and everyone was sharing it and watching it. And I got contacted by like news and radio stations. They're like, "Oh, we'd love to interview you, Westin, for doing this." And I remember thinking, "What? Like people actually like this stuff?" No, I'm just kidding. I knew, like, I'm not sure what the response would be, but like, I guess deep down, I really hoped that everyone would enjoy it. And so far, a lot of people do enjoy my stuff. It's a good way to learn the language, especially see it in like more like a humorous light, because like I'm able to, show some Anishinaabemowin humor through my cartoons and videos, through the weird conversations that cartoon characters have, I would say. So I would say the response has been like very positive.
That's good. Yeah, I remember the first time I saw something you did. I didn't know you then. I think I saw you on the news or something. So that's awesome. I saw somebody unmute. Did somebody have a question? Noah, you're waiting patiently.
Yeah, I was just wondering about so you have the original dialogue in some of these cartoons, and you have to seek out how a fluent person would say something similar. I was just wondering about if you could describe the process of having them come to words that they would use Like, do you change the stories a lot? I was just wondering if you wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, usually when I dub a video, I the stuff I choose to dub into Anishinaabemowin, I've seen before typically. So, like say, like I take a Sailor Moon clip, I watch the original English, see how it was, but then I'll also see the original Japanese with an English translation, and I'll see see how like the English handled translating from Japanese, and like most of the time I end up taking the gist of what is being said. Like I won't translate directly. You typically before I started recording for my videos, pretty much all of 2017, I was actually writing scripts day and night. I would study all the clips or episodes that I would want to do, and I basically rewrite them so that it would be easier to translate into Anishinaabemowin. Like, so yeah, like I guess I would say I'm basically making it. I made it easier to translate into the language because I don't know, English can be a mess sometimes. And some things just wouldn't make sense in the language if you were to say it directly. So, and I try to throw in Anishinaabemowin humor as well. When I'm rewriting these scripts, maybe I'll throw in a swear word or two to make it funnier. So like, basically I rewrite the scripts to make it easier, to make it funnier, or like say there was a mistake in the original, I can fix that in my version because I'm not trying to follow the book or the script exactly. I basically give myself creative I'm not sure of the word. Basically, I let myself be creative.
Yeah, creative license.
Yeah. Yeah, I try to get as creative as I can when translating these scripts. And then sometimes you don't even do what I write. Sometimes I'll bring these scripts to work with someone and we'll end up changing it last minute. So some of my stuff isn't concrete either.
So it's like the creative license goes around for you and for the speakers. I think it must be that's why you can see the different dialects, people coming from different communities and the way they share their own sound, their own unique sound as a speaker.
Exactly. That's what I love. Always ask my friends, the speakers that I work with, I always ask them, how would you say this? Or like, what's something that you would say in this situation? So, like I also let them get creative as well. So that's kind of how I deal with, translating. We just have fun with it. Or I try follow the storyline at least. Or maybe I'll change the complete story. I'll just make up a story and just use the characters. I don't do that often, but like I have done it a couple times. Just a completely different story, just using the animation, I guess.
We have a couple comments and some questions. We have comments about your work, that they enjoy your work, appreciate your humor, the Anishinaabe way. I love how he uses the term Anishinaabemowin, which is totally correct. Amazing young man. So we got a lot of hearts and a lot of likes on our stream. And then we also have a question. And this is one of my questions too, because having tried to coordinate a translation effort of what I thought was a very few minutes, I see the amount of work going from Ojibwe to English or from English to Ojibwe, never mind Japanese to English to Ojibwe and another Ojibwe. But it's like a very involved process, which is why I can see how much you're learning, but also how far have you come into translating the cartoons? So do you have any full featured cartoons? Is that something that you're working towards, or do you want to focus on clips and conversation that you enjoy?
For the last couple of years, since 2017 until maybe last year, I focused a lot on clips. So like 5 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, up to 10 minute clips. But deep down, I always wanted to do full episodes. And starting last year, I started work on a few full episodes. So potentially by the end of this year, or for sure by next year, I should have about like a few full episodes of some different shows. So yeah, and I know this wasn't asked in the question, but I've always wanted to do a full length movie or two, but I don't. The time right now isn't ideal for that. So maybe next year I can maybe tackle looking at a full movie. But for now, most of my videos are clips, but do expect a full few episodes in the near future.
Can't wait. I'm so excited. That was one of my questions too. Where do you see yourself? Do you see yourself doing any movies or TV shows? So I'm super glad you're on it. Oh, good. So it sounds like you spend a lot of time doing this after school, after work. It sounds like most of your free time is spent doing this. And I know you've put a lot of your own money and your time into this. So why is this creating cartoons so important to you? And yeah, why is it so important to you?
One of the there's a few reasons why I think it's very important. One of the reasons, these aren't in a specific order, by the way. One of the reasons is I think it's a good way to engage your youth. From age 4 to my age, I feel like this can definitely, inspire or young learners. They can watch these cartoons, to learn more of our language, or if even want to learn just a couple words, you can always, turn on one of my clips or one of my full episodes, just learn new words. And so that's one of the reasons, it's for our youth. And I think was one of the main reasons when I first started this. Like I wanted, like people like me when I started learning when I was 15, I want them to be able to have this because I didn't have it when I was 15, but now a 15-year-old today could have this. And yeah, so it's definitely for the youth. However, I also wanted to make it for our elders, our fluent speakers, and our elders, our parents, grandparents. They can always watch one of these and hear the language they grew up with, in a funny way. Like I have many friends that are elders, and I love showing them my videos. I'll like put a video on my phone, and they'll just be laughing away at these because and that makes me happy. I also just love making already fluent speakers happy with my cartoons, because maybe in their lifetime they've never seen anything like this before, and yeah, it makes me happy. So it's definitely for all ages, for our youth, for our elders. And I guess another reason I'm doing this is, I want to help Anishinaabemowin or Ojibwe. I want to preserve our language because unfortunately many of our elders, are passing on, and our language, and I want to save our language because my videos will still be here like 50 years from now when I'm an elder. All these videos will still be available, and it's a good way to preserve our language, I guess was my main point. It's a good way to, preserve, yeah. So those are just a couple of reasons why I do this. There's many more probably.
I'm just a little teary-eyed. Anyway, moving on. We do have a question from Noah. Would you like to ask it yourself, or do you want me to ask it?
Sure, I'll ask it. So Westin, I was just wondering if there's any stories you'd like to share about if you've noticed that there's a few words that kind of change from community to community with the speakers you work with, and maybe a couple of those words and the communities that say things a little different that you've noticed.
Yeah. When I first started doing this, I was a bit, I had a bit of ignorance, I guess, because I believed that all Anishinaabemowin was the same. Like the Anishinaabemowin I was learning in it from the dictionaries would be the exact same that everyone would speak. But after working with so many speakers the last couple of years from different communities, I realized that everyone has their own way of saying things, like their own words that, you know, maybe they only use in their family, or a word that's only used in these couple of communities. And, you know, like I never knew about that before. And it's through doing this that I was able to, you know, kind of get an idea of what different communities sound like. So, you know, like like accents change, words change, even conjugation may change in certain communities. And, you know, but in the end, none of that, I guess, you know, matters too much to me. It's all still Anishinaabemowin. Any Anishinaabemowin is good Anishinaabemowin, I guess, is a way I could say that. Because, like I said, different communities say different things. But it's, you know, still Anishinaabemowin. It's still something to learn. And I've learned a lot.
Is there an example of a word that you think kind of? I know you talked to me about one of those words. Ataje? Did you maybe want to comment on that?
Yeah. And then like some communities have a different way of saying the same word, or like almost the same word. Like in a dictionary, you may find the word apije, like very much. But I noticed in some communities in Western Manitoba, they actually say ache, which is a shortened version of apije. So apije, ache. And I noticed that's more comfortable for them. So, you know, stuff like that. Or like one community might say geisa for very much, but then that word won't be used elsewhere. So like stuff like that. I like capturing stuff like that, basically. I love recording those unique words because, you know, like I said, those still need to be taught, even if it's unique to one group of people.
So I know you want to move on to videos soon, but I just have a quick question. Has there been any like backlash or people who don't really like that you're making these types of videos? Because I know there are some who are really protective of the language. So maybe you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yes, of course. Yes, in my couple years, or like few years, I guess, of doing working on this project, translating cartoons and everything, videos, I have ran into a few problems from individuals. Like, I think the biggest issue was one of the elders I worked with. She loved what I was doing. She loved all the videos and recording herself for them, you know, sharing her language in like a fun and unique way. However, her son didn't like what I was doing. He said that, I guess in his words, he said I was selling the language. Like I was taking our sacred language and I was just selling it to whoever, you know. And he thought it was wrong what I was doing, which is fine. That's his own opinion. But I've learned over the last couple of years that, you know, sometimes there's just some opinions that you shouldn't pay attention to. So, like, I've also received some other negative comments, like, why am I translating cartoons that feature, you know, people that are white or non-Indigenous? Well, one of the main reasons for that is, you know, there's not many Indigenous programs out there, and if there are, many are, you know, stereotypical or racist maybe. So I just choose not to deal with those. So, but when it, as for, you know, translating and dubbing cartoons that are non-Indigenous, I take one elder's words that he said to me. He said, as long as it's the language, that's what's important. It doesn't matter the color of whoever's skin it is in a cartoon. As long as they're speaking the language and teaching it and I'm sharing it, that's what's important. And, you know, those words were very inspirational to me because like I was also doubting myself at certain points, like why am I translating these non-Indigenous cartoons? And but you know, it's just a way. I guess one of the reasons for that is because many of our youth enjoy these cartoons. And I kind of, you know, I thought dubbing them would be a good way to grab their attention, taking characters they already know. They know SpongeBob, they know Elsa from Frozen, they know Sonic the Hedgehog, they know Mario, they know all these characters. So I thought, you know, dubbing those would capture the youth's attention. And yeah, I think that's what I thought many years ago when I started doing this, taking already well-known characters and dubbing them into Anishinaabemowin. And I guess going from that point, I guess, in the future, I do plan on making my own Indigenous cartoons or Indigenous TV shows or movies. Like I'd love to go into that in the future, you know, cartoons that feature Indigenous characters in a non-stereotypical light. So that's a little bit of the hardships, I guess, or a little bit of the backlash I've received, and you know, like what I'm doing and like what I plan on doing about it, I guess.
So on the flip side, what do you find most rewarding about these cartoons? I know we're going to break for video soon, but I had to ask, what's the most rewarding thing about creating these cartoons?
It's just so cool seeing these characters that I grew up with in English speaking the language. From my personal point of view, I love seeing SpongeBob speaking Anishinaabemowin or Sailor Moon swearing at a monster in Anishinaabemowin. That's what I love.
Yeah, I could tell you too, Kenny, our 8-year-old, he loves hearing you sing Teen Titans in Anishinaabemowin.
So those are some of the most rewarding parts for me. I just love hearing our language, and I especially love hearing youth enjoy like get inspired by them. But above all, I love our elders' reactions when they see my videos. Some of them have never heard of what I've been doing, and so sometimes I just pull up my phone and I'll show them one of my videos, and they'll be like, "Oh my goodness," and they'll just be laughing away. That's one of the most rewarding parts. Our fluent speakers seeing their language used in such a fun way.
Okay, well, can we see some? Show us your work.
I prepared a few videos to show us today. I have a few Ojibwe, and unfortunately today I only have one Cree.
Of course.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all my Cree fans out there. Cree friends. Let's see. Let's show this one. And the first couple of videos I'll be showing have Anishinaabemowin subtitles as well as an English translation. And but they do go by kind of quickly, so you gotta pay attention the whole time if you want to understand what's going on. Alrighty, let me just get my share screen up.
Westin's Anishinaabemowin class.
And here everyone go. Let's see. I'm gonna turn my camera off for a second though while I play this.
Sure.
I'm gonna turn my camera off. Hopefully everyone can hear that.
Westin, I think you have to unmute yourself.
Oh my goodness. When I muted myself, did it mute the video?
Yes.
Oh, I'm gonna restart that again. Sorry, we have to watch the same like 20 seconds again.
No problem. It's a good 20 seconds.
Okay, you can hear it though, right now?
Yes.
Awesome.
Anin kay kuyen. Nishugisik. Kung kinwesiwe. Gikendan oneshendash. Unsam ki papechi gagishkisatoiwe. Kita kina maga usaning getu taman. Ah, ozam na mamaji. Ah, taka kegoy kitukin. Kegeta shanish. Apetosha ke menos kinikwew. Kego na jakete. Weko nen. Ah, yo, ho, kanchi wana sing owe. Kego nge kendang shaning geshi chigean. Ah. Wewe ne. Kego inendage nakina kego taname no se. Ho. Kigichinenda gos. Kange goewe. Kame ganita ka kiskisige sigisongistash. Nanatamanda awes ngikina mago anish. Kesando menokishigan. Huh? Baba. Anin gin. Oh, Anin. Howsa angomizin? Nenondation.
Skasa man umaga papamayat.
Huh? Oh, Mitzi, kimanayana.
Ani binoya kanan suikagin giop mesinun.
Kami Mitch tamajadis yan.
Beka, kebuchi sa akin. Nanga kinonga kinamuto nung di kentana o kunene kung sumatsain.
Kaina uya iweo baba misiwin.
Ang kentana kunene kung sumatsain. Ang anis kirigis na sa ukinigi kukita kinamay ito ka kipachi sa ya oti kinati kami kung.
Kain siwin ewe kamamandaw siyot ksaywe.
Kangi tepa ito sinun.
Inanish.
Ukunen.
Asya ganesh kanyop masyam bimi besho ganesh ayat. Ninwinanish pakandi namanja. Pakananish kinagego shikundi siya bandan gagi kinamagawan. Pika kawe. Awe nene wabandang wan nanakatuin chikanan. Mom catch wingi gondanas to to. Kaya biabiding minaninundi ko chitun.
When shop is up, man, Kawin Kushi on the shizinu.
Oh, gangi kendazina kituan we. Kaini we niyo bandazina ing alfea, ambeo man niyo bandan.
Me way. That's all.
That's awesome. That was the Winx Club, right?
Yep.
That
pretty
is
pretty
too
obscure
funny.
show, I guess. But
We were laughing. We had to mute ourselves, but we were laughing. That was good.
I love too that when you see the cartoon and you see characters interacting in Anishinaabemowin, some of the words aren't words that I would learn in a class. But they're words that would help me recognize something that speakers would say to each other.
Exactly. Like that's one of the best things I think about entertainment in any language you're learning is I find you learn a lot more like real conversation. Even if it's like a cartoon or like they're talking about silly things, I still think it's a great way, to learn a language because I guess you learn real language.
And who doesn't want to say "Ioho"? How do you say that?
Yo-ho.
Yo-ho.
Yeah.
So who did the voicing for that one?
For that one, the speakers I worked with were Millie Moore. She voiced the mum. Melba Laferin. Hopefully I said her name right. She voiced the redhead. Gail Pruden did the voice of the mean girl. And I think that was it in this clip. And then like every now and then you'll get a background character that says like one or two things. I just remembered Frank Bulio did the voice of the one guy that said one thing.
One line, a very important line.
So yeah. So if we're ready for another one,
yeah, please
play another one. So that one was from Winx Club, which I translated as Omamantawizik, and that translates to the magical ones. I always translate the names of shows. And so if we're ready for another one, the next one is from Sailor Moon or Dibikigizis o Kichidakwe, the
Say that
Moon
3
Warrior.
times fast.
Close. The Moon Warrior. Right, hopefully this one is good. And this one's probably one of my favorite ones.
Nituguanang Meskuchikanation. Shunya Mum Meskuchikanation. Bebenak! Hey! Wegenan? Ngutio Moji Jacques. Whip, duck. Chipokichino go wake. It's on a go chituk. I'm suck. I want to say it. Where it won't you want not this? Ah! Ngakashkiaki Moji Chagcha Gogi with you again and Alec. Until no when he won. Ah! Ayuhu. The kawaii pitak. Antikichiduchik. Itagashkitomosha. Ah! Mr. Dim, you send out Shin Wewe ne. We check Chinuchat Shemak. Taki Gakchinochi en. Unji Wemitek. Oh, that's where to do the end. Get it.
Mie again, that's all.
I heard Virginia's voice in there.
Yep.
Who else was in that one? Who played the scary monster thing?
And that one, the monster was voiced by Karen Metoyashing. Virginia Pateman did the voice of the, I call her the pink villain because she wears pink. Sailor Moon, Dipikigizis Ogichidakwe, was voiced by Gloria Barker. Little Warrior, the one with pink hair, was voiced by Melba Laferin. Venus was voiced by Wanda Levasseur. And Jupiter was voiced by Millie Moore.
Okay.
Yeah. I love videos like that. It's just, I don't know, it's so cool.
It is so cool. I love it. I could watch these all day.
Alrighty.
That's a cool name for Venus I saw there. Junia Anang, is that?
Yeah. Some of them, when I first started translating Sailor Moon, I just used the English planet names. So in some of my older videos from a couple years ago, you'll just hear them say Jupiter, Venus, Mars. However, within the last year, I decided to, translate the names myself, or with the help of some elders, with some of their guidance, I translated the names, kind of following the Japanese translation. Because in the Japanese language, the planets are an element. So I just, straight up copied that. So Jupiter is Mitagua Nunk, wood star, because in Japanese, Jupiter means wood star. And Shunya Anunk I guess can be translated as money star, but it really means like metal or golden star. And that's kind of what we were going for there. So yeah, that's a pretty cool catch.
That's really interesting. I really like that. Bypassing English. Translating directly from the Japanese.
Well, I got a couple more videos lined up here. The next one is going to be in Swampy Creek.
That's what I'm talking about.
Swampy Creek, and this one is voiced by my grandmother, Valerie Hudson, in Creek, Swampy Creek.
Mochngis kene tentan sike tu tamana nis ngi kichini pan. Meten gisiwa hawan ne kiseni no. Tebena ke kichimitsuan. Oh, ke go maga ni maka matue pitek. Kuku sisena wana mani ukukuchima. Puku ke konta tu taman maskuch ke kon hispano. Wana maka utaka uya kaki pakitnik. Kawichi ten maga. Gagakuchi mauna na pe utawichi hisk. Gagawichi hinamna. Mochngi pe tawanan. Kina maga no chigweso. Awasti utausche. Kona ke koni tue makichisk.
That was a little short there, Westin. That was so beautiful though with Kukum.
Yeah.
Granny.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have some, before we go to our next video, we have some comments. So Matilda Roulette Bem, I hope I'm saying that right. If I'm not, I apologize. She says, what you're doing is so helpful. Keep it up. I'm teaching my great-grandchildren to speak Anishinaabemowin, and I remember my 8-year-old grandson hear an Anishinaabe word on TV, and it perked his ear and made eye contact with pride. That's so sweet.
Aww.
We have Matilda again. Great job, Westin. Oh my God, loved it. She is your hype woman. Michael says, wonderful work. Niji Giminochige. I hope I said that right. Sounds very Ojibwe. And then Matilda has a question. She says, what's Askejig? Askejig? I'm sorry, I'm Cree. I'm probably not pronouncing that right.
Askejig.
Askejig.
Or Ushkejig, actually.
Askejig.
That's like a silly word. It's all the elders that I've worked with all translated it kind of the same way. It kind of means like brat. Like it's something you would say to a little kid to get them to stop doing something, like stop doing that, or like you're being too rowdy is basically what that word means. It's one of those words that like I personally don't know the actual translation. I just know how it's used. And like sometimes that's what we do. Sometimes some of my speakers won't know what a word actually means. They'll just use it how they remember it being used. And most of my speakers use it as brat. So I translated it as you brat.
You brat.
Yeah.
Awesome. Tiffany also says boujou, by the way.
Boujou. Alrighty. Well, I still have a couple more videos. I think the one that everyone is excited about is this next one. Hopefully. SpongeBob. Alrighty. Oh, and the name of SpongeBob that we chose to use is Binichigans. And that can refer to a sponge, but actually it just means anything that's used for cleaning. So a cleaning object. But Binichigans.
Gegeta anish nini kunje kakinao yo maya anish tipishkam nongo. Akishki kanan chukumeno shun yan nanda weni mak. Shemak min shik. Kakinao ya kinguma kanoba mi shik. Kanapachin saki guk. Nina anish unchi kakinage guma. Hey, win! Oi, oi.
Oh, Anin Dashka is the seg.
Anin baba.
Oh, gijitana matukumiga, nushtamenoya.
Mano minje, weekend kendam nungum anish ke kui mawisi se.
Keget na. Oh, Dani ket, keget. Tebo magat, kchigego. Keget, kchita kamigat.
Kawin ki kenda sin ke kuna.
Ketebwe.
Nungum te pishka muinchi gis.
Kendan, ketebwe, kchina kamigat. Ansabunen.
Kitaki kendam kusha papa. Winki kusha kchinen dagwan. Uweka te pishka manungum. Akinawian ka machini mi cookies. Pinakina ko machisek. Pukut sa stabian. Kawin tas ke ni witutan sin. Pukut tas ka shunya tamisian.
Ah, kandende zemen cheese sake. Aha.
Ashida mawishin kinake ko tani minosek. Hauna? Anin uskini quick. Anin kui pishana wete kati pishkamana kinake ko anista minose.
Kawin ki kendasin ka chicken inash. Ki mami ka na umais kwas ka ti pishkang. Upapain ka ki mami ki wet sakay kanan.
Ki mam kay sana may siya kamik. Utaman ako nan ki books count.
Ingi kendan si machen tagok minawa.
Baba!
Uganan, kinawaya, wene.
Papa! Winter mawishin. Ashana kiki match tun away ka wis sek.
Oh, Danis, kego chanaman again. Asha, ye watched the kinawaya minago, HK Gaminanda no. Jikandam, happy touch chicken dugget.
Papa, kinake ko cookie panach tun. Ke shiko ke ni panach tu ken. Mina, kinisi tu tamna.
Oh, yeah.
Ni gwes kinun jiwe. Sugnu shipi an kakinage go kanta wenda man. Mina waka waba men. Ata we kami kung kaya.
Bilet chiges.
Wego nen, jogi mam.
Oh, kego then min chatat went Danis, what up in an.
Wego nen, wen dogi mam.
Where what chitun pitch, shunya.
Da daina kenege go maunche. Gawin na memet shunya na patis si.
Kayet ago.
Wah.
Injimandan, kameno agego chatat the moot. Etina tatmo one meachum, cuptish kego. Pameneja, got no gaminanding. When chigi mush chigin.
Mi ena etago. Gatutan.
Ayi kushangi winter mak Marcy. Julia Saki at Brandon.
Oh, keget na.
Julie Uzagian Brandon.
Oh, me pachina ke kwa pantamani unishi shek.
Ninonda tai ye unje where.
Oh, Eugene, eh? When the wish none of it is coming.
Bishik is a semagatako.
Maybe. Nani Jibagat.
Mi ena etago. Gawin we kanga kentazin ani neja semagakwe.
Oh, Santa unishi shinwe. Mi wekana and the winter man.
Oh, yes, pakan ke tawe.
Bro, because you up and taman away.
Ni pizza.
Oh.
Mi we shigo enen dending away.
Nam mi wekanta winter man. Mi ge unishi shin.
Pasan the squaw woodun.
Meje, kinta it gayan. Chibangi nick in there.
Oh, you get to go to you and Minantani and Dogi Mom.
Oh, we give no nishi away, Mr. Den. We you na Mr. Chimons.
Bro, I'm Bill Mappy, son.
Let's give a papa and nipa with.
Oh, is there one just share where?
Andi na ben ande minute kenan kesat.
Unfortunately, that's it for that one.
That's awesome. It was so funny seeing SpongeBob have a deep voice. That was hilarious. I love it. So our time is almost up, but I think we had a few concluding questions we all wanted to ask you. One of my questions was, what are your favorite language resources? Do you have any favorite organizations or books that really helped you to learn?
For physical resources, I think my favorite ones to use are the books written by Pat and Roger Roulette, such as Pocket Ojibwe, Cookum's Language, Zanagatagan, I believe it's called. So like those are written by Pat, and then some of Roger's resources such as like Gidinwewinan, pardon me. And I know he had a couple other ones that I have as well. And as for online resources, the best websites to use for Anishinaabemowin are, the Ojibwe People's Dictionary, from down in Minnesota, or Freelang Ojibwe I find myself on at least every day. So those are just a couple of the resources that I would recommend.
Awesome. And Donis just reminded me, I forgot to ask who was voicing the last video.
I'm not gonna say who was voicing who because there's a lot of characters.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'll just say who was in it. In that video was my grandmother Valerie Hudson, Roy Tom, Millie Moore, Karen Metoyashing, Laura Spence, Corey Whitford, Frank Bulio, Wanda Levasseur, and I believe that's it. Those are all the voices that you were hearing in that SpongeBob.
That's awesome. How do you meet all of these people? I know you said you might have some funny stories.
Yeah, some of them, a lot of the people I met, I guess could be like weird circumstances. Like Gloria Barker, one of the classes I went to was at the Riverbend School, and Gloria was one of the teachers. So that's how I met her. I just asked her, hey, would you be interested in helping me with, recording some videos? And she said, sure. So she gave me her email, and then I just contacted her, and I would go meet with her at the Riverbend School. I would come after she finished teaching. That's how I met her. Millie Moore was recommended to me by a friend. I got her phone number, and I called Millie while I was like working a summer job, and I'm like, hey, my name is Westin. I'm translating cartoons and all that. Like at the time I wasn't doing that. It was more like I wanted to translate cartoons. And she said, sure. And so I met her. I came to her house, went with her. And at the time, I didn't actually start recording her. I would just do scripts with her. So I would bring a bunch of piles of paper of scripts, and I would sit down with her at her table, and I would just ask her, how do you say this? And then I would write it down. And I still have all those scripts that she wrote down and that I wrote down somewhere in my house. So that's how I met Millie. And then some of the funnier ones were one of my speakers just happened to be the neighbor of someone I was already working with. And he said, my neighbor speaks Ojibwe. Okay. And brought her over, and she just sat down at the table, and I just started recording her. And then she loved it so much that she and I started working together. So yeah, lots of every speaker I work with has such a unique story, how I met them and started working with them. And to this day, I'm always meeting new speakers. Like another quick story is a friend was staying at a hotel, and their friend who was Ojibwe was at the hotel. So I just brought my computer, and they're like, okay, sure. So I recorded in their hotel room at the tiny little side table. But they enjoyed it.
That's awesome. Sounds like you have a lot of great resources and people surrounding you. Do you have any advice for youth who were in your position who want to learn the language?
Some advice I would give is definitely don't give up is the big one. But I guess you can say for anything, but especially with this language, I think never give up. I know it may seem hard, but it'll get easier the more you practice, the more you And if you see what you're working for, like me, my inspiration was being able to speak with my grandmother in her first language. And that's kind of what helped me get through all like the tough parts of learning Anishinaabemowin. And so I believe everyone should do the same. Like, even if you don't have a family member that speaks Anishinaabemowin, still find what inspires you, and work towards that. Or so don't give up, and set a goal. Basically, like, work towards something. Like, you don't have to be fluent in like the next month. It'll definitely take a few years. Like, this is my 5th year or 6th year with Anishinaabemowin, and I'm not even fluent yet. But I can. But that doesn't mean I can't speak the language. I can speak the language, and people tell me I speak it pretty well, and I hope they're not lying. Just kidding. Keep trying.
So my last question is, where can people watch your videos? I think Matilda also asked that question. Where can people find your videos?
My videos are available, like the full clips and full episodes will be available on my Facebook page, which is called Ojibwe/Soto Dubbings by Westin Sutherland. And that's a Facebook page. That's where most everything will be. And my YouTube, which is a long name, which Sharissa will post. I gave her the name. It's Anishinaabemowin Cartoon, which translates directly to Ojibwe videos. Anishinaabemowin Cartoon is my YouTube, and then my YouTube and Facebook will be where my full videos are. But I also have a TikTok, which is Westin North Ojibwe, on Instagram, Westin Sutherland, and on those I just post small clips, like progress and all that. And however, I know my time is pretty much up. However, there was 2 short videos that I wanted to show, a minute each, that I wanted to show before we shut it all down. If that is okay.
That's okay with me.
All right. Well, I think we'll still say a couple words after these 2 short videos, but Dictionary Gwitch, everyone, so far. Anyways, these 2 last videos that I will show are actually blooper reels. Because when it comes to recording in any language, you're bound to run into making mistakes. Our fluent speakers aren't prone from mistakes. Like, anyone can make mess ups or whatever in the language. And so I created 2 short blooper videos showing some of my speakers, messing a line up, and which is not bad at all. It's just, human, I guess. Anyways, here's the first blooper reel that I'll show.
Gawin onishes non magim.
What's a talk on the Sunday body? I get sick.
Ah, who China man? Gawin to the monk. I eat this to the ment anyway.
Haigi na namna chapo mas ko siyan chip kanayin.
Me wet is a bucket in the mama.
Who's this? Kinama kita ya me che Winter motion.
Anish ne swe kuku chi kitanto nya gunanik.
Negats, nene gay children. Isn't no day less and I can soon yami gamis.
I love those because, you know, it just shows like, you know, they're having fun with it. And the next one is, oh, sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna get the second one. Did you want to say something before?
Oh, no, that's okay. I can say it after.
Alrighty, and the second one is probably the super funny. I think it's really funny. Here's another blooper reel for all of us, because everyone loves bloopers. Bloopers too.
Oh, wait, and then the wabatam one another doing the glad. Tagasana music squad, the Ben Samson of cookie chicha, but doing no.
Ay nga na po siya ito sa kape. Agas na kate. Kisagap na skachek. Kiwi sagap.
Kinani siya tatapajit.
Oh, eso na
Hello? Kegunan nando. Oh. Kawin, ano siya non? Kebi siya sigo. Timin. Ispinakan pakan.
Hey, Luigi, Nino Shimano Gumche.
Uki kageki mote okay we maring. Me honest and Japawat.
Oh, gee, mi wets. Ay, bi said. A cheese on this story na kidan.
Nashkia kana on Jima. What's the guy to money mene teno man for heaven's sakes. See, Jero, all we're trying to do is get younger and Puni tugu e ga to the make kini me gongo shawe kwe gweni ki go kina wa. Kawin when she's non kim. Oh jeez.
Yeah, those are some more of the bloopers.
That's awesome. Like that one comment said, it's the Anishinaabe way. Yeah, that's great. I love that. That's good. So we did have one more question. Janice, did you want to ask it?
Yeah, we have a question from one of our commenters on Facebook. Any plans to do videos in Michif?
Yes, definitely. I can't go into too much detail yet, but I am in contact with 3 fluent Michif speakers, and we were going to sometime in the next year, you know, attempt to do some Michif videos. And like, I'm kind of unrelated to the question. I also do plan on doing some Inuktitut videos as well.
That's great.
I am friends online with 2 Inuktitut speakers.
Awesome.
So yeah, Michif Inuktitut in the future, but currently Anishinaabemowin and Ininiimowin. But the Ininiimowin, not much progress, I hate to say.
Ever sick.
Ever sick.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Westin. Westin gave